Hello and welcome back to a new reactions video. Well, not really a video, more of a podcast, I guess I would say, for the new state of play that was just shown off here on December 10th. I'm recording this a day after. I've got some notes. I've digested everything and just going to talk about it here and kind of give my initial thoughts on everything. So, of course, we start with a little tease, just like we did the previous state of play, or maybe the first state of play with the Final Fantasy VII Remake news. We had the kind of starting up orange, blue, and white colors for the PlayStation 4 starting up, and we heard some Resident Evil sounds, which was pretty much kind of keying us in that, hey, Resident Evil 3 is probably going to get revealed here. And that's pretty much what we assumed after the game leaked on PSN. It was either this or the Game Awards, and when it wasn't the Game Awards, it was obviously going to be something, so getting that announced here. But we'll talk about that here in a little bit. After that, our first game was the Untitled Goose Game, which has been on Nintendo Switch, I think, for a little bit, but hasn't been on a PlayStation platform yet. And I haven't really been too much of an indie game player as of late. Back when I was doing like reviewing and different other videos, I was playing certainly a lot more. But this is the one that always seems to have catch my eye. I love the developers. I believe it's House who's the developer. Usually on Twitter, there's all these memes of just like Goose of War and Horizon Zero Goose or something like that. Just photoshops with the goose doing stuff. But if you haven't seen this game, definitely try and take a look at it. You're kind of just a goose, kind of just messing with people, really. And it's coming out December 17th. This is a game that I definitely feel like I want to try, but I don't think I'll be there day one to buy, perhaps. But it's certainly a game that I do want to play at some point. Moving on, we do have a next game called Spellbreak by a developer called Proletariat. And so there's a closed beta starting spring 2020, and you have to have a PS4 Founders Pack required. They kind of put that in like the fine print that like, hey, there's a closed beta coming, but oh yeah, by the way, you have to have the Founders Pack. You have to pay for it. It's a battle royale game. They didn't say how many players, but it really doesn't stand out to me at all. I'm actually watching a little bit of the trailer right now on another screen, and there's not much that I see that's really making me want to play it, I guess. I assume this is eventually going to be free to play if the Founders Pack is actually paid. As probably any battle royale nowadays probably should be free with the success of that one game we don't need to mention. But yeah, there's like different abilities. You have like different characters doing different things, just like in pretty much every other game. Some people have ice or earth abilities, some people have fire abilities. It was probably the most forgettable game of the entire state of play, to be honest. But that's coming out spring 2020 is the closed beta. Again, the Founders Pack required. Next game up, number 3 on the list, Dreams finally has a release date of February 14th, 2020. And they didn't mention it in the state of play, but it will be priced at $39.99. I do believe the early access PSN version of the game was $29.99. So when the full version releases, it will be $40, and there will also be a disc copy of it as well for $40. And they showed a pretty lengthy trailer, it seemed. It was really just a montage of all the different like little creations you can make. And don't get me wrong, I mean, it looks impressive. I was kind of hoping we could maybe see more of like what the game is, like what the single player, if there's like a campaign that Media Molecule, the developers, are creating. I'm not really sure. They do show at one point that they basically recreated like a Wipeout game in Dreams, which was really cool, in addition to like all the little other montages of stuff you can play. But don't get me wrong, I mean, I think this looks cool. I think it's a great start for someone who maybe wants to start getting into game development or game design. But as for me, I don't really see myself playing this game very much. I was not really a big Little Big Planet player, so kind of jumping online, every night and seeing what the new games are or something new levels are. I'm just not that kind of player, I suppose. But I think this is certainly going to be a thing that probably carries over to the next generation of PS5. Probably get some new packs and new updates over time. That's probably going to make it pretty special. Like, like we're hearing about Mario Maker. It's like, hey, there's this really cool Mario Maker level that some people are sharing. And if you can, use a website or use a code like Mario Maker does and go play these different levels that are really cool, I think that would be neat. But as it kind of stands right now, I honestly don't have all that much interest in Dreams at all, even though it's a first party PlayStation title and I'm pretty much all there for those. Subliminal is the next game that was revealed, and it's a first person puzzle game. It looks like a puzzle game. So I guess I'm using the puzzle game in quotes, or I guess my quotes, because they didn't really say that. But it really seemed to do with optical illusions, like picking something up and it looking like you're bringing it closer to yourself, but actually what you're doing, like if you step back from it, you're actually making it even larger and putting it in an even larger space. So the first one they show is like the DualShock 4 controller. They like pick it up off a pedestal or a stand or something like that. And it looks like he's moving back as if he's like carrying the controller with him. But then when he lets go of it, it's like this huge thing that just knocks around other geometry and kind of affects the world in that way. There's a couple other ones where like he's walking down a hallway that clearly looks like dice are sitting there. But then like when he moves a certain way, the dice are, it's actually just a painting on the wall. And we've kind of had these kind of that style of stuff in like Uncharted puzzles where you have to like look at things a certain way and like stand in a certain spot to look at something, and then it'll be like something different. So that's kind of what I equated it to. There was like a part in the trailer where it said like wake up, and like it started giving me like very Portal vibes. So I don't know if it's going to have some overarching enemy or something like that, but I think there'd be a lot of cool secrets, a lot of cool little just physics things you can do. The very end of the trailer is like him picking up like a pop can and like enlarging it really high, or like making it really big, and then he drops it and then like it starts spurting out like pop and stuff like that. So it just like starts flying all over the place. It looks neat. That's kind of the one game that I think is probably the coolest surprise, I guess, other than Resident Evil 3 and another game we'll get to. But as of kind of the indie games they were showing, I think this is probably the coolest one that they showed. Really, the only thing we know is that it's just next year. It's 2020, and that's about it. Next game is PSVR game, which is the only PSVR game we got in this state of play, which is Paper Beast. And this is a game that was announced before, but really hadn't been shown off in any capacity too much. But we did get another full-length trailer here. I want to say the only other trailer we got was like a minute long, and we weren't even really sure what it was. So this is the creator, Eric Chahi, I believe I'm saying his name right. That is from the Another World creator, which I recently played the like Another World 20th or 30th anniversary collection they had on PS4, like when it came out. It was actually kind of fun. I know there's a lot of people that hate it. Of course, it's hard and it's trial and error, but I actually got all the trophies in it. I actually thought it was pretty cool. Side note though. But yeah, it's a PSVR game, and my biggest takeaway looking at it is they say manipulate the fascinating wildlife, manipulate the terrain and like the flow of water. It almost seems like a god game a little bit. And so you're really just kind of controlling these different beasts, and I don't know if you're leading them somewhere or whatnot. It seems like you're helping them, like whatever they're doing, like you can pick them up and attach different things to them. It's kind of a game I'm not really sure what's going on, but I do enjoy those types of games. I love experimental type games, stuff like Bound and Flower and Journey and Unfinished Swan, Edith Finch, all that stuff. And I feel like this could maybe be another type of that game. But yeah, it seems like more of a god game, where you're kind of picking up different things and you're kind of creating different things. Like you're kind of playing God to help. Like he's like pouring like blots of sand on a hill so that they can climb up. I don't know how you select that. I don't know how that kind of mechanic comes to be about, but it has me certainly intrigued. I haven't played PSVR that much, and honestly, I might not play this game, but it does remind me that, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff on PlayStation VR. Of course, like the end of the trailer is them like getting on some balloons and flying away. But that's Q1 2020. But next up, we do have, obviously, my favorite game. And if you can sense the sarcasm in there, There is sarcasm. Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC. I'm sure Curtis is excited. January 23rd, 2020 is when it comes out. There was a decent length trailer for it. They showed it State of Play. I have absolutely no idea what's going on. I think they're maybe looking for Sora. I need more Disney characters. I feel like there was a lack of Disney characters. There was a lot of Sora looking like people, I guess. I have absolutely nothing to say about this, really. You can pre-order now. There's a $30 version, that's the base game. And then there's also a $40 version with 19 concert video. With a concert video with 19 tracks. And also has some new characters in addition to that. So it seems like the $10 seems to maybe just get you the concert video. But there might be some other stuff in there. They kind of had like a list at the end of the trailer. And it was a bunch of jargon to me that you'd probably understand if you played Kingdom Hearts, but I don't, so I don't understand it. Next up is a game we've heard about for some time. I want to say it was like revealed at the first State of Play, maybe. It's Predator Hunting Ground. So this is developed by Ilphonic, who's the people that developed Friday the 13th. It's still 4v1 Predator game. So the Predator is in third person. And the big thing they showed off is the 3 different classes. Well, in addition to new gameplay was new classes. There's the Hunter, the Scout, and the Berserker. And you can probably guess probably what each of those classes do. The Hunter is probably more balanced. Scout is probably maybe not as powerful, but maybe like relies on traps a little bit more. Where then maybe like the Berserker is like get in front of everybody and just start going to town. Maybe has like more health, that sort of thing. It is a very like spies versus mercs, like in Splinter Cell type of game where the Predator does play in third person and then all of the other soldiers that you play against who are also real people are in first person. So I think that's pretty neat. I just wonder if it's going to be one of those games like nobody wants to play as a soldier. I think they really have to make it cool to play as a soldier, because I think maybe a problem with some of these games is people get into a lobby and then they're not Jason or they're not whoever Dead by Daylight character is, and they just immediately quit out because that's what they want to play. And it's kind of like Evolve. Like people just wanted to play as the monster. People didn't want to play as like the healer, from what I could tell in like Evolve. So that might be a problem with the 4v1 game. And I'm honestly just not really that big a fan of these games. I want to say Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th were both free on PlayStation Plus at some point in the last few years. And I played a little bit of it, but I honestly just don't see myself sitting down really wanting to play this game. But it does have a date officially, April 24th, 2020. I wrote you can pre-order for stuff. I think there's like a skin and a weapon or something if you pre-order. It's not that much. But I do believe also they announced it's going to be $39.99. I want to say that's the price, and which is pretty much what I expected. So I think that's pretty fair, pretty reasonable. Babylon's Fall is the next game, which we first heard about at E3 2018 during Square Enix probably really terrible press conference, if you remember that one from a year and a half ago. It's a Platinum Games developed, and man, you can certainly tell by watching that trailer that that is a Platinum Games game. So it's a Square Enix published game, as I was kind of mentioning. I almost wonder if this is like secretly like a Nier game. Like I think it just has that kind of look. I mean, I highly doubt it. It's probably its own thing, but I might have to talk to Curtis about that. I don't know, just watching, and again, it just being Platinum Games, I just look at it and it just reminds me of something maybe you'd find in Nier, maybe not Nier Automata and the kind of more Android futuristic stuff, but maybe more of like the original Nier. More info next summer is what they said, which more info next summer basically means to me E3 2020. Be on the lookout for more. But yeah, that was a decent, maybe 2-minute trailer, probably all in all. So I mean, it's when you didn't hear about it at Square Enix's like really long press conference this year that they held, it was nice to hear that, hey, this game's still on track, it's still coming, and we'll hear about more of it soon. It's not in development hell, as they say. Resident Evil 3 was up next, the big reveal of the night. They started out saying it was the campaign portion of Project Resistance, and I think that was supposed to throw everybody off, and I think it definitely threw me off, Because if I was watching this live, I would almost think that maybe it is something different, you know, if the leak of the PSN leak wasn't so real. But they start off with a nice tease. So they show off like areas of Resident Evil 2, where they show like Leon, they show Claire, I think, at one point in the trailer. Then the clock kind of rolls back and you see this first person view of somebody, and it seems like a woman you're playing as, I guess. And yeah, you're running away in first person, and it made me think, like, is this like a Resident Evil 8 kind of thing? Like, are they going to go back to like first person? Because it's kind of like that Metal Gear Solid 4 trailer in like what, 2007, 2006 maybe, where like the trailer starts and it's like a guy playing like you're like a first person shooter like in the Middle East, and then eventually like Snake comes up on the guy and just like CQCs him and disarms him, and then it's like reveal like, hey, it's Metal Gear Solid 4. But yeah, you do see this first person view. You see this like giant person who looks like Mr. X chasing, doesn't look like Tyrant, or excuse me, doesn't look like Nemesis at this point. But then eventually it is revealed to be Jill Valentine as she kind of rolls out a door. It's on fire. Somebody yells Jill, and then you kind of get the whole trailer, the montage. People talk about how they think Jill looks really good. I don't really know. I always thought Claire's face looked kind of, I don't want to use the word dull, I guess, but I guess I wasn't super impressed with the faces of, I was impressed with the facial animations, I guess, but I wasn't necessarily impressed of like the actual models, I guess, of Resident Evil 2. And I liked Resident Evil 2. That was kind of a spoiler cast that I wish Curtis and I would have been able to record. I really did like it. I did end up platinuming the game, so I certainly played it for some time, but I didn't love it. I mean, I would probably, if I had to choose, I would have chosen, like, I would probably play Resident Evil 7 again before I would play Resident Evil 2. Yeah, going back to Resident Evil 3, they showed that first person trailer. You get, Jill. I keep wanting to say Claire. You do get Jill, and I haven't played Resident Evil 3. That is, I don't want to call it one of my sins, I guess, but I did play Resident Evil 2 a few years back, like the original. And I never did play Resident Evil 3, so I don't really know who these characters are, sadly. So I am not your expert on Resident Evil lore, though I've played, I guess, majority of the games, but I never did play 3. April 3rd, 2020, that's the date. Kind of crazy that it's so quick. And certainly Resident Evil 2 remake, when it was shown off at E3, it was like 6 months later. And there it was, and seems to be like an even shorter turnaround, just in like 4 months away. It's crazy that it's this quick. You do get a showing of like Jill looking like a zombie at some point in the trailer. I don't know if that's going to be like some weird like extra mode or something. That looked kind of cool. I do like that they don't have it's not called Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. It's just Resident Evil 3. And after the title logo, you do get a little bit of the short little tease of Project Nemesis, or codename Nemesis, I think is what they called. But then that's when they also ended up saying that, hey, you also get Project Resistance in this, which I was just listening to a podcast like a few days ago that was actually pretty behind. They were talking about the original leak. And they did end up mentioning like, hey, what if Project Resistance is also part of Resident Evil 3? And yeah, the guy, I can't remember which podcast it was, I apologize, but yeah, guy totally nailed it. Project Resistance, or now known as Resident Evil Resistance, will be part of Resident Evil 3, and which kind of has me, I don't want to say the word worried, but has me thinking that, is Resident Evil 3 kind of a short game? Because Resident Evil 2 was really kind of a short game. Definitely with the two different branching story paths, with Claire and Leon. But yeah, it didn't really seem all that long, especially compared to something like Resident Evil 7. So I'm wondering if Resident Evil 3 is maybe about the length of maybe only one of those scenarios, and then Project Resistance, Resident Evil Resistance, is supposed to kind of round out the value of a $60 package. I'm not really sure. But of course, there are collector's editions. If you pre-order today, you can get the Resident Evil 3 Classic Costume Pack. So if you want to do that, you certainly can. Yeah, there's a collector's edition that has like a Jill statue. That looks pretty good. Maybe some other stuff as well. It has like a box that it all comes in that looks like a collector box. believe that was 180, and I think might be probably sold out at this point. I remember trying to get a Resident Evil 2 one, and I didn't get one in time. But yeah, you would think that would maybe be the end of the show, but after that, there was still like 4 minutes left. The next thing is that we got a special message from the father of the PlayStation, Ken Kutaragi, talking about the 25th anniversary of PlayStation. It's kind of nice to hear from him because we haven't heard from him like in forever. It seems like, not just like in the public's eyes. Like, I'm sure he's done interviews and stuff like that, but in regards to actual like PlayStation appearances, it doesn't really seem like he has done that much. Because even like when the PS3 was getting revealed, like Ken Kutaragi was like really showing off the PS3, and when the kind of, I guess maybe just the disaster of the cell processor, when PlayStation 4 was getting revealed and kind of more of that Western focus, there was absolutely no Ken Kutaragi presence. Like, it was Mark Cerny and all the other guys. You probably are infamous now that have left Sony. But yeah, he mainly just talked about, thanks to the fans for playing the games, thanks for developers for developing these games, talking about how he's glad to see video games not being such like kind of a children's kind of thing, that like adults can talk about it, and it's more relevant than ever, I would say. But other than that, just kind of said, thanks to everybody. There's nothing really substantial there. But last up, we do have a tease of Ghost of Tsushima, which we will hear more about at the Game Awards, which is also this week, which is 2 days away from when this State of Play was. And the only thing we got is, it looks like some enemies, some bad Imperial Japan people, I don't know, transporting something, and then there's like a ninja samurai guy. I don't know what you call him. I'm terrible with these kind of things. But ends up throwing a smoke bomb. Looks like they're getting ready to fight. That's the tease. Tune into the Game Awards on December 12th, and you'll get to see all about it. That's certainly from Sucker Punch Productions. Their last game was Infamous First Light, which was also published like later the same year that Infamous Second Son was published. So it's been a while. I want to say 2014. There was reports that once The Last of Us Part 2 was delayed back in to May of 2020, I want to say that's correct, that they also said Ghost of Tsushima was also delayed. So, I mean, you might be seeing Ghost of Tsushima maybe coming out in like October and having PlayStation 5 come out in November. So, I mean, it's kind of that, use the word swan song, I guess, of the PS4, because definitely it seemed like this game was going to be out more sooner. I guess that's not really a proper English, but it was going to be out sooner. Kind of maybe in the May, where The Last of Us was supposed to be in February. But now that Last of Us 2 got pushed back, this game also seems to be pushed back to kind of give some room to them, and which I think is good. I mean, you don't want to kind of cannibalize two of your franchises together after these teams have worked years on these games. But other than that, that was it. They were just saying thanks for coming. That was the final one of 2019. See you next year, all that stuff. I still don't mind the State of Plays. I like them. I am still more of a traditional get up on a stage, do a press conference, do a PlayStation Experience, Paris Games Week, Gamescom thing. But yeah, I enjoyed this. I still don't think they have as much excitement as like a Nintendo Direct has. This is like a day after, and I'm looking at the views, and it's only like 393,000. Which, I mean, it's nothing to scoff at, but like when you think like Nintendo Directs have like 2 million views just like within the week of it. There's just usually a lot more buzz, of course, around Nintendo Directs, where certainly State of Play is kind of taken from that kind of strategy, which I'm sure is a lot cheaper to do. Don't have to pay for a big stage, all that stuff, prepare speeches, get all of the stuff coordinated that I'm sure people have to do. You can just kind of throw together a video, say what you want to say. Don't have to rely on other outlets to translate things for you. But yeah, thanks for listening to this kind of reaction of the State of Play for December 10th, 2019. I might do one on the indie world. I don't know yet. Will depends on just kind of how things are going. But yeah, the Indie World was the new Nintendo indie focused show that was also released, kind of like a Nintendo Direct. But we'll see if I upload that as well. But again, thanks for listening, and see ya.